Thank you so very much. I am happy to say 9Z. Jesse, he didn't get to ask you a question. I would feel badly, but I don't. So if you want to say something, please feel free.
Well, I will say that so far in the operator bans, we're seeing pretty much what you'd expect from both of these squads. Azami comes through as the most commonly banned operator on Chalet. I believe of any map, Azami on Chalet is the highest banned op that we see, the highest combination. Not 100% anymore. We did get a game last week in Brazil where Azami was not immediately banned in Chalet, which was crazy. But Black Dragons won't be making that same decision. They'll remove that alongside the Fenrir, and then double shield ban coming out from 9Z, excuse me. Oh, I gotta catch myself here. Already targeting some of the shield players on Black Dragons. Historically, Black Dragons don't actually play like a ton of shields. You'll see Rare, probably the most commonly, rocking those shield operators, plays a decent bit of Blackbeard here and there, but compared to most teams in the meta, Black Dragons actually don't bring that many shield operators. So interesting that 9Z still think it is a big threat. I don't disagree. It's still going to be one of those tools that is just so powerful no matter who you're against. Sometimes you want to remove it, but an interesting choice nonetheless. We'll see how they adapt to after round number 3.
It's obviously the point at which bans will change. Those of you that are just tuning in for the very first time, bans are not just done at the start of the game. They swap at halftime, but there's a first wave of bans that begin right off the rip, and then we've obviously got after the tail end of round number 3, which would be the halfway point of the halfway point, which would be the 1/4 point, which is what Jesse loves to refer to it as, but I try not to inject too many numbers and stuff into the broadcast.
I believe in your ability to
people.
divide by 4. I believe in you, Parker.
It's not about me being able to divide by 4. It's about the audience.
Have some faith in the viewers.
I have no faith in people who watch this game on Twitch. Have you seen the things they say in chat? My goodness.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
No, I'm of course just joshing.
Well, they've gone Kitchen, Parker, for their first bomb site, which was one of the most common sites that 9Z played last time they ran this map up against Loud, so not a huge shock to see there. The push will start as Blackbeard jumps on in, Rare hoping for an opening pick. He's got alongside him, that's Flash Street, but they both get rolled by Tuku. Huge start to come out from 9Z, a big 2K opener to immediately halt that push, and now Black Dragons in an awkward spot. 3v5, your initial execute just completely fell flat. What answer do you have?
Oh, Tuku looking the wrong way. Makina finishing that one off, and now control over West Main is theirs. Makina will be very short-lived as Zhao takes him down, leaving Muzi and Hornet as the last two standing. 9Z will look to dig in their claws. Clash of Naza will keep things at bay, at least for the time being, because that's exactly what a clash does. But yeah, really challenging for them to be able to get into the bomb site. Down goes Nitro. Hornet with a big kill. This has been a bit belated here, Jesse, but it traded back. Zhao with another one, and now it's Muzi is the last man standing, harassed by the electrification of Clash's shield. Slowed down, but not before Zhao dies. Muzi looking for more. Bigger focus will be to get that Clash into a position where Muzi can do some damage, but very wisely, Naza will continue to just fall away in the midst of the bomb site, but no diffuser in hand for Muzi. He's just constantly being hounded by Naza at this point. If he wants to go for the defuse, that's one thing, but where is Will? Where is the Jaeger? They're just allowing Naza to continue to play time, and speaking of time, it'll run out. One of the anticlimactic finish to the round, and 9Z will take it.
Anticlimactic, perhaps, but smart the way that 9Z closed that one out. Naza on the Clash would have had to throw that pretty hard to lose it in the 3v1 playing up with that Clash. Naza's struggled a little bit so far this stage. He's actually the worst rated player in the league at the moment, but knows how to play a Clash. Not going to throw that one in the bin and give Pino an opportunity to make some huge issues. Muzi, excuse me. We're just casting his teammate of Pino. Big stop, obviously, coming out from Tuku, one of those players that has been around the South American scene for ages. He's been down playing for Argentinian teams across the board since 2020 when he first made it into Tier 1 down in that region. And so nice to see him stepping up with a big couple of kills. Don't always get to hype up these Argentinian players that tend to play here in the South American League, but he has been one of the better ones that we've seen performing from 9Z. So it's nice to see him, despite his old age perhaps, starting to perform.
Chalet has been a very popular map between these two teams. Obviously, 9Z losing it to W7M, as was touched upon by the desk, is unideal. Black Dragons defeating Loud 7-3. What is it with Loud being involved with every single one of the teams that we've had to deal with so far today? We had Los and Nip in game number 1. They have both played Loud already. And then BD and 9Z... well, I guess 9Z technically doesn't have anything to do with Loud, but the rest of them do. Just a fun little quirk. Loud, obviously, an enormous organization in Brazil, and they sit in, well, I guess you could call 6th of 10, the middle of the pack. They are in action in our very next game. It'll be FaZe Clan versus Loud. That'll be an exciting one. Tuku down as he flies out the window, kills Musi. Down goes the Lion. A paralyzing operator on the side of the attacker is now gone, and the question is Tuku retrievable? I very much doubt it.
Give the NS to the body shot that downs him. Finally finished off. I like that play. Again, getting aggressive. The second opening pick. Sometimes you think of Tuku as more of a kind of anchor player. He does play the flex role on this team, but able to get aggressive when he needs to. 9Z not wanting to stop the aggression. You can see Zhao up in the top floor hunting for a swing, wants that pick. Nitro is being tracked by the Deimos as well, so he's got to be a little bit more cautious with the angles he chooses to engage with. Decides to back up to Zhao instead. The pressure is coming from Black Dragons. Machina here on the Blackbeard, starting to make some space, starting to take parts of the map, and then over on the rappel too. Hornet trying to make something happen to pinch these players. I think they're just getting out though, Parker. I mean, Zhao's gone all the way back to Library, and his teammates have all either dropped down to the bottom floor or still on that main floor.
Yeah. Good news for Black Dragons. They have some contingency or redundancy, if you choose to use that wording, or the Lion being gone. Is one of those death marks has been used, and Hornet will continue to hound Zhao in this position, giving more information. There goes an explosive at their feet, but no damage is really being done. Now it's Machina stepping into a goo mine as the culprit. Nitro taken out by Rare. Black Dragons will stretch their numbers advantage by 1 while still having mostly top floor control. Zhao had an opportunity for a pick onto Machina, but will not want that engagement. He'll be hunted down, watched by the death mark, and finished off by Flastry. Black Dragons doubling up on 9Z.
Not the roam you can afford to have, Zhao. Now they're in a 2-man disadvantage. We need some big stuff coming out from Naza on the Clash. He's going to have to put that down and pull out the gun.
Nitro Cell goes out, shield for Machina goes away, and he spotted one over on Connector. That's Will firing back. He's able to take down Machina, and Diffuser is surrendered as well. It's winnable, but it'll be a mighty tough go of it. MPX and the SMG-12 means that there will be no struggle for Will to engage long range. The question is, does he know exactly where the target will be? Through the wall, opened up, he sees a line of sight. They surrender control of the breach as Diffuser goes down, and he's got to worry about blue, breach, and stairs. Black Dragons wisely getting out of that place of danger, and now it's a push from the back by Flastry. Will handles that, looking for yet another now over towards the breach. He needs to make quick work of time as well. How daunting it is to hop on that diffuse kit with a yawning chasm in front of you, between you and one of those attackers. Rare is the culprit. He's far enough back. He got the diffuser down and then watched over top of it like a mama bird. Black Dragons win the round.
Nice attempt coming out from the Brazilian captain of this Argentinian squad. Will doing his best, but that's really not winnable after that diffuse kit goes down. It's so advantageous for the attackers. I think that round really comes back to the two roamers that didn't really get much on their game, both Nitro and Zhao, playing on that top floor without being able to get anything in return. Yeah, Tuku got the opening pick. That's great, but with it getting traded out, then you lose two roamers for nothing. That's going to be really where the pressure starts to mount up against 9Z. And I think you got to give a lot of credit over to Black Dragons with how efficient they were on that roam clear. They didn't take too much time. They were working together through different parts of the map. You saw the Blackbeard going in from Machina. You saw some play going on from the Deimos as well. Even Rare got involved to pick up one of those early round picks. So every player on Black Dragons is really coming together to coordinate on the objective. And that point, it was, of course, the roam clear. And I think that is what has started to separate Black Dragons away from the other BD teams we've seen in the past. This Black Dragons team have looked so strong across the board. It's not like they're crushing on one or two players. It's not like there's one or two stats that are looking really strong for them. This is a team that's top 3 in attack, top 3 in defense, top 3 in conversion, top 3 in recovery. Almost every stat you look at, maybe they're not first, but they're second, they're third. They're playing really well anyways. Black Dragons look like a very well-rounded team, and 9Z are starting to find that out the hard way.
I mean, you don't just luck your way into second place after 5 play days. I mean, I guess you could, but if you're in that position, you're usually there for a good reason. Black Dragon's strength of schedule is not, or 9Z, sorry, strength of schedule does not get any better. Their very next match is up against Furia. Then they have FaZe Clan. Usually I would say that it would be a tough one against Liquid, but Liquid right now at the very bottom of the standings, the only winless team in the South America League. 9Z will then finish off against NIP, the team that we saw earlier today, who, I mean, there's a long road to go between then and July 13th, which is when the very final match will be in roughly about 2 weeks, but there'll be plenty of time for them to study the matchup today because NIP obviously showed some serious weaknesses. Black Dragons at the top, well, this should be a win given the way that the teams play, but again, as we saw from the very first match of the day, it's not always a given.
This defensive bar game is going to revolve around library as it often does. Will would love to put this clash down. I think he's trying to keep himself in a position where he can choose to put it down if somebody swings him, but he can also keep it up if maybe an Ash charge or something comes his way, a grenade being held by Hornet. Probably going to be their best tool to try to pop this clash shield. Muzi holding an angle that probably will never pay off. Maybe with the jump out or something, it could go his way, but Will's playing this quite passive just for information. You combine the clash with this mirror shield, and it's going to be really tough to push this angle.
Absolutely. Tuku in a strong spot now, backed up with that shield that Will is still struggling to get it down, and he'll have to walk away from an impact right back into this position, and maybe he's just fooling around. Still holding this angle, waiting for somebody to aggress, and it'll be caught by Tuku when he sees them go towards that double piano door. Now's the first one on the board. Flastry is down for the count. The annoying operator Dokkaebi is no longer. Machina eliminating Nitro. Nitro still searching for his first kill. Naza taken off. Tuco goes as well. Now it's all up to Will. The clash who we've been watching for so long is all that stands between 9Z and a lost round. Rare and Musi combining for 7 kills through 2 active rounds is excellent. And now it's Will being punished by the firebolt of the Capitao, who, after setting it off, will try to get Diffuser down. Will's been pushed out of his position into library, and he'll have some reading to do between now and the next round as Musi finishes him off. Diffuser was attempted, but did not go down. A joint effort from Black Dragons will give them the round.
Yeah, not an easy round. The top floor felt like it was a complete disaster. Like they had no chance of breaking through that extremely strong hold with Clash, Wamai, Warden, Mira. All the tools were dedicated up above. So the last couple players on Black Dragons able to work picks elsewhere. We saw Muzi was playing kind of on the window. We saw, of course, Hornet was kind of engaging with that. But Machina walking in front door was really the guy that was able to find the gap, finally find somebody who wasn't a huge problem, part of that big hold. He managed to pick off Nitro on the mezzanine. So I really think Machina finding that entry point broke that hold open, and once they had a gap, Black Dragons exploited it from there. Everything fell apart on 9Z. I did not think they were going to win that round because it felt like that defense was so expertly crafted, but a gap was found. You know, there's always going to be a weakness in those defenses, and it took a long time for Black Dragons to find it. Felt like they were kind of banging their head against the wall for a little while there, but eventually they come through.
Yeah, I did like the defensive setup. Again, we talked a little bit about that Mira playing inside of library with Clash there to support, but I mean, there are soft walls around you. You still do need to worry about what's below. You need to worry about the library windows behind you, and if it's a quick sweep through the offices component of this map, it's going to put a lot of pressure on you. You become that beachhead, that first and potential last line of defense upstairs. Once you lose that, it is very hard to get it back. So with that said, you hit the mental reset button. What other tricks can 9Z bring? Well, they're going for an outside Banshee. They prep the castle barricade. Question will be, though, you lose these gadgets right away. Oh my. That drone for Machina lasted a lot longer than I thought it would, and it did get one of the Melusi Banshees, so not impossible that it will have some impact. It also wastes an impact to get rid of the Banshees, so that's a good amount of utility that's given up, and there goes another Banshee as well. Excellent value from this Brava on the side of Black Dragons.
Yeah, feel like you're quite happy with that early round on BD, disrupting some of this util. It's not a very crazy defense coming out from 9Z. You know, we've got the castle barricades, as they're so common. Often castle gets banned alongside the Azami on this map, so it's rare to see castle survive on the top floor, but anytime it's available, of course, you're going to be bringing that. Now without this utility, 9Z are in a bit more of a precarious spot where maybe they're going to try to get aggressive to get one of these opening picks, but I don't think they're feeling too bad. With castle barricades still up and 3 Toxic Babes in pocket, I wouldn't expect a jump out, but Will kind of looks like he wants to, Parker. I don't know if I'd advise about this. Oh no, don't do it.
I am always pro jump out, and Will do just that. Rare will meet his demise at the hands of that vault out. The smoke, really gambling for it, and it ultimately pays off here. Terrible to lose your hard breach. No secondary hard breach available for Black Dragons. They didn't bring any can openers, nor an operator that can deal with it. It's an air jab that just got hit. No, you heard it.
On the board for 2.
Yeah, Musi will capitalize off of that play. 9Z in significant trouble, but they equalize numbers as Machina is punished. He'd done some serious work on the map earlier on. There's an air jab as well to down Nitro. He's still looking for his first kill at this current point in time. He's the only player who's been held off the score sheet. He's hard support, though. Naza decides to face check the same window his teammate had just died from. I don't know if that was poor comms or just desperation, and Flashtree will get all 3 of them from the same spot. It might only show the tip of his head, but that's not the way this game works. That's why you have an advantage on upside down repel. Black Dragons take yet another round, and their lead will grow.
Diffuse Kit was still being held by the attackers in around Bathroom and around Solar, so they did kind of have to make a move. Actually, I believe it was down outside. No, I'm going to correct myself here. When Rare got jumped out on, he dropped the Diffuse Kit when Will jumped out the Bathroom window, which meant that Diffuse Kit never got picked up. Doesn't exactly scream like the situation where you need to triple swing the big window and lose all 3 of your lives. Maybe just 9Z not keeping track of what the game state really was, panicking when they didn't need to. There was still a lot of time on the clock, so in theory, somebody could have gone and picked that up on the side of Black Dragons, but moving quite often is the problem with these defending teams' top floor of Chalet. It's why Azami and Castle are such powerful operators, because it allows you to move a little bit more. That round, Azami, of course, banned out. Util was used very early on to clear those castle barricades, so that wasn't a big problem for Black Dragons either. They were just able to hold those windows as 9Z started moving around that map. So feels like BD have played really, really clean Siege so far. Feels like they know exactly what they want to do. They attempted a bit of a weird rush the first round, and maybe that didn't pay off. But since then, Parker, Black Dragons have looked like they are fully in control of this game.
Yeah, I mean, which is what we somewhat expected. I mean, obviously there's unpredictability baked into every single matchup. There's a reason why we play the games instead of simulating the games, and that's because anything can happen. A team can come in with a perfect record, looking completely indomitable, and get shut down very swiftly by the probably most unpredictable results. And a team that you didn't think would be able to hang with them suddenly will do just that. I do appreciate that we're able to get an extended tech pause just to look at Flashtree's fuse skin. I really appreciate that being on the screen for a great deal of time. People have often joked about that Warden character art as being crying Warden, and boy, oh boy, am I crying when I see some of the goofier skins here. I guess you can be a fan of Rick and Morty and still look at it and be like, why are you playing Fuse and why are you doing that? Come on, man, you just make yourself a bigger target. This is exactly what I fear those skins do. Same with the Doc skin as well.
Yeah,
I'm assuming there's an issue with Hornetow. We're just waiting. We're just waiting word. And no, I guess the tech issue was that 9Z had called a timeout and it needed to be redone. So there we go.
Okay, well, it gives Hornet a bit more time to think about his operator as well, which is going to be good for him. As you mentioned, used to be known as Hornetow, shortened it to Hornet a little while ago. Economists tend to look at that as a recession indicator, so might be something to look out for.
Yeah,
common one that is used. You know, he used to go by Hornetow, which was big Hornet. You know when he took the first Tau out of his name? 2007.
Did he shrink or like what's going on here? Wait, 2007?
Yeah, that's when he took the first Tau out of his name.
2007, Jesse. I don't even think you were
right
born.
After 2007?
Maybe he got attacked by a Hornet, or maybe he saw some smaller Hornets and he's like, oh, I guess they're not quite this big.
I'm just saying, rocky times are ahead.
And so, you know, I hear it's a recession indicator when players shorten their names.
Just Hornet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fair enough. Learning something new every single day. Hornet has jumped around from a couple of teams, and he's usually always thrived on the roles that they put him on. I mean, he's usually on a frag-oriented role of some kind.
Mm-hmm. Currently the primary entry for this Black Dragons squad, and the only guy to remain from the last Black Dragons roster. They really blew up their whole team in the offseason and grabbed a bunch of players that were floating around in free agencies. I think they kind of made like a super team with the leftovers of Brazil, a bunch of players that had been removed from their previous teams, but it had big performances in the past. Muzi, obviously a huge name. Machina has been one of those really hot rookies down in tier 2 for a couple of years now. Rare and Flash Tree as well, quite a bit of experience. So I've been a big fan of this team that Black Dragons have put together. And with Hornet kind of being that rock that was on this team previously, and probably their best player mechanically, maybe alongside Machina, maybe Muzi too, if you can roll the years back. It's a really solid fundamental team.
You talking about people's ages again, or are you just dedicated
listen,
you are
Muzi's
dedicated to being ageist today. I see how it is.
It's not even about being old. It's about Muzi won a hammer like 4 years ago, and then he retired for a little bit. He didn't retire. He took a break, and now he's coming back. And so, you know, has he still got it? Maybe, maybe not. We get to see.
I turned 35 in 4 days. I might as well be legally dead in esports terms because I am one of the oldest people alive. So
that's true.
While we're talking about this round has been effectively dead because there's been very little life in it. Right now, a lot of posturing from Black Dragons outside is, again, this same library established beachhead that we saw before. Absent a clash this time, as Black Dragons have removed the shield operator, is where 9Z have dug in their heels. Black Dragons wanted to take library quickly. Hornet jumped in, got rid of the Surya Gate, and then immediately peeled out of there. I think a wise decision given the operator lineup that we see from 9Z in that area.
Yeah, and I mean, we're back to bar games. This is where that really strong mirror clash setup came down. They've removed the clash. They put Zhao back over to the Jaeger. This is, well, Will was previously the person running Jaeger last week when 9Z were playing this up against W7M. Played a very similar setup to what we were seeing both this time and last time that they were on this bomb site, where they really focus around holding that top floor, holding around library. But last time it was Machina who found the opening on this hold, and he's in the exact same spot that he was in previously. If he gets another opening pick, it could again just spiral out of control.
That was the round where we saw great value from the Brava drones too, so it's not just about utility, and it can be about kills as well. Machina at 2 and 4 is probably not where he wants to be numbers-wise. Flash Tree eliminating Tuku. That's the first one to fall, and he finds yet another. Very swiftly, Black Dragons are able to get these kills. It was noted on the analyst desk how good they are, Jesse, at trading. Well, how good are you if you don't need to trade? That's 4 unanswered kills. How about 5 and a flawless end to that round? 9Z had just used their timeout, and it was all for naught because the most dominant Black Dragons round follows. 4-1 is exactly the start that Black Dragons are craving. They would have loved a 5-0, but it will not come to pass. Final round of the first half, and as you said in previous rounds, and we will almost certainly sound like a broken record, they're playing almost perfect siege against 9Z at the moment.
Yeah, I loved the coordination in that round. You know, at the exact same moment, we saw a double jump in from the fireplace window, excuse me, as both the Blackbeard of Hornet and Muzi on the Lion jumped in together, rushed straight into the bomb site. But they weren't the guys lighting up the kill feeds. Instead, that was actually Flashtree, who was upstairs jumping into library, got some massive picks, and then was able to abuse vert angles as well when he needed to late in that round. It was a really clean execute, everybody pushing together. At that same moment, Rare jumped in the games window and started planting. So you can tell this team is so in sync, and it's crazy impressive to me that this team has not been together for very long. Again, there was really none of these players that were teammates before joining Black Dragons at the start of this season. There's a couple of players who have overlapped in previous squads, but for the most part, this is a brand new 5-man squad, no history playing together. They all come in now being IGL'd by Rare, another kind of one of these young IGLs, and it just looks so well put together. It would be very much forgiven if you thought this team had been playing together for years, but it's only been a couple months.
There are teams that have instant chemistry, and there are teams that take quite a bit of time to gel. You know, we talked a little bit about North America earlier on, and I mean, Black Dragons don't exactly have the best start here, by the way. They just lost the very first pick in the first 30 seconds. But one player, whenever he comes onto a team, takes some time for them to warm up to is Canadian. I mean, we can't not talk about him when we talk about North America, we talk about regions as a whole. His teams have notorious slow starts here. Team Liquid are the same. Every time Team Liquid makes roster moves, they start so flat-footed, and unfortunately, they just are too slow to adapt and start to make up time. I mean, they are the only winless team at the moment and seem to be in free fall after a disastrous result at Reload. They came in after making some roster moves and were hoping for the best. Palu, longtime member, taken off of this team, but they're struggling to adjust as well. Whereas there are teams that you can put together and they get instant chemistry.
Will, that's a foot. Will, that's a foot.
Might be that there's a wall in the way. I don't know if you can actually see the foot. Sometimes the silhouettes...
I think you're right.
Sometimes the silhouettes do betray us. And what a rush up towards the top stairs. Machina, no, that's your own teammate. Great shot, though, I will say. Really good shot. Hornet did not see that coming. A lot of unforced errors right now by Black Dragons. And 9Z in a 4v2 with Musi on a fraction of HP. I don't know how you get yourself out of this position. Best case scenario for 9Z is a 4-2 half, or 2-4 half rather, that they would be on the 2 side of. Still possible that Black Dragons can clutch this, but there's going to be a lot of layers that they have to cut through to get there.
Yeah, they're not really together either. Rare's currently outside the trophy window. Musi creeping through West Main. Their positions aren't known, but it doesn't matter. Tuku hits the shot, leaving Rare in a 1v4 on a beeper. Should be unwinnable. And there it goes. Zhao from up above, finishing the job, making sure the Black Dragons will not get a devastating 5-1 half. Really felt like throughout that half, though, we saw a lot of similar pushes from Black Dragons, where things stand still for a little while, you know, things aren't moving, and then all at once the push comes in, even in that last round. Other than losing Flashtree right off the bat, all 4 players making the move at the same time, but 9Z were ready for it. I'm sure the man advantage helped quite a bit in that round as well. So you walk away with 2 successful defenses on Chalet, which is a map that historically leans attacker. That's not that bad. Obviously, this is going to be something they have to worry about replicating on their own side. In their match against W7M, 9Z only mounted a 40% attacking win rate through 5 rounds. So they have not shown the best attacks on this map so far, but plenty of room for improvement. Those that week off they had, I'm sure they were working on this map, expecting it to be in the pool up against Black Dragons. So we'll get to see what they have cooking. And as far as op bans, if this isn't an Azami, okay, it's an Azami. I was going to say we're going to have a crazy game, but no, we'll keep it standard.
Dokkaebi ban will also join a 1 shield operator ban. You talk about the double shield bans on certain maps. You think that a Monty ban alongside a Blitz makes sense here, or do you think the Dokkaebi is far better suited for Chalet? I'm not talking about the teams, I'm talking about Chalet in general.
Chalet's super flexible, so it's kind of funny. The attackers always have to ban Azami. The attackers don't get a lot of choice when it comes to banning operators on Chalet, but the defenders get loads of options, right? I think Dokkaebi Blitz is a totally fine ban. If you want to go double shield, you're playing against a strong team, I think that's reasonable as well. All 3 shields get value on this map. We see Deimos is another really common pick on this map for operators to get banned out, so not surprising at all to see Dokkaebi and Blitz, and I think it just kind of comes down to what 9Z like to play as a team, because those are strong operators on this map. I'm looking back at the stats. Looks like Naza plays quite a bit of Dokkaebi as one of his operators, so not a huge shock to see that. As far as shields, they get a little bit, but they don't seem to play too many shields either. It feels like both of these teams haven't leaned too heavily into it. Will play a shield here and there. Nitro's played the Blitz once this stage, but broadly they aren't a heavy shield team, so I think it's reasonable to ban out only 1 shield in this case.
Excellent insight. Let's see if the desk agrees with it. We've got 2 very smart guys over there.
Yep.
You used to work on the desk, you know.
I did. I was once there, and then I was deemed too stupid. They said, go cast. I said, okay.
don't think that's what they said. I think that's what I said, actually.
I might be mixing people up in my brain. That does sound more like you.
I think that's what I said about you. But you know, you've really proven your worth here. So
thanks.
You're very welcome. It's great to be. I've been enjoying it. You know, we've worked only a couple events together because it has been so short-lived that we've worked side by side. But I appreciate it. Now we get to lend our voices to the South America League on our on the 5th play day here. First half of the books. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, despite who you are, I've really enjoyed working with you too, Parker.
That's very nice. I was going to make a joke about how when we were talking about the Heat Dome, you said, oh, you know, Edmonton didn't get it. And I was like, yeah, that's because just proving my point. Nothing or nobody wants to go to Edmonton. So
are you
not even the heat wave wants to go there.
We had a heat wave a few years ago that was really, really bad.
Yeah, sure thing there, pal. Showing off all the new operator skins that we have from the pilot program and the partnered teams. It's a good look. They're available now. We'll talk about them as this match continues to go on. There is a Capitao bundle on the board. You saw that the skin as well on the AK that's being brought by the Nomad of Will. 9ZG, unfortunately, not with the best start to this particular round. They lost Zhao. Black Dragons just need to sit and wait for the final minute, and they'll take the round. That's it. It's that easy.
A little bit of revenge from Flashtree. He had the opening death there not too long ago.
Dooku will fire back. Down goes Flashtree. Flashtree's been exceptional on those opening picks, by the way. Rare from above. Still holding court inside of Kitchen. That'll force 9Z to send a player in that direction. Nitro went the entire first half without a kill. Yet again, it's not entirely important that he gets one, but as his team continues to lag behind, he will need to get on the board. Will dropped, and there's your golden opportunity, and Nitro will break it. His first kill, and that's all he's going to get. Dooku left standing as Black Dragons shovels the rest of them into the bin, and they know exactly where the Deimos is. He's still got all 3 death marks. Is Dooku about to die with all utility in pocket? I mean, confounding him is the fact that there are mute jammers on the board. He does. Speculation is correct. Machina finishes off the very final player on the side of 9Z, and Black Dragon's lead goes up to 3.
Huge round from Rare, the new captain of Black Dragons, coming in from MIBR in the offseason. I liked the idea from 9Z there. There was definitely a plan where they said Naza's on Capitao. He's going to smoke the dining hatch so we don't have to clear dining, and then he's going to go in and plant. The only small little problem with that plan is that Naza didn't wait long enough. By the time he shot the Capitao bolt and then immediately jumped in, the Capitao bolt takes a couple seconds for that for the smoke to actually dissipate. So before the smoke bolt went off, between it being fired and it going off, Rare was able to find the angle on the dining hatch, kill the planter, get another kill later in that round as well. It was a really big round for him. You got to question, maybe there should have been a little bit more pressure on that guy, but they thought they had it covered with the Capitao bolt. They knew it wasn't going to be a Warden up top. There's no Warden in that round, so they thought this is going to be clean. All we got to do is smoke it off. But a little bit of the misstep in the execution, and that's going to always burn you when you're going up against such a good team like Black Dragons.
Long talked about Brazil using certain organizations for being so strong. Now, obviously, that it's the South America League, you need to make some adjustments. For a long, long time, this region was referred to as the Big Three. You know, you had Font, which would then go on to be FaZe Clan. You had BRK, which would then go on to be Team Liquid. And you had Black Dragons, which would go on to be Ninjas in Pajamas. This is going back years and years and years ago. And then for a long time, it was those same 3 teams dominating. NiP, FaZe, and Liquid were the top of the top. That was it. You expected one of those teams to make a deep run. Black Dragons went back to picking up newer players, and they would have good runs here and there, but by and large, they picked up players that were promising and aspiring, and then, unfortunately, whether it be financial or whether it be desire related, those players would go off to one of the bigger teams. Obviously, complicating these matters is you had that W7M team that was really quite big. MIBR/Immortals and all of them thought that they had a good shot as well. They represented the region at the Rio finals back in 2018. Now there's been major upheaval. The top 2 are W7M and Black Dragons. Those are things that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see in this Black Dragons squad. Well, they're very experienced, and it might just be the best BD squad we've seen in quite some time. They started off with 2 very quick kills. It's Rare, who looked for a third over towards Trophy, couldn't get the job done. Machina's there. to avenge him. Tuku and Nitro is the last two standing with 90 seconds still left in the round.
Rare's got to be such an annoying player to play against, man. 22-year-old from Rio de Janeiro making just ridiculous plays, always ratting around, taking advantage of your lack of drones. Note they've only got 2 up on the side of 9Z, now in the 2v4. You've got to be able to find a way to pull this back. Obviously, the game is in the balance. Match point lies ahead of Black Dragons if they can close out the 4v2. 4v1 now as Machina finds his second, leaving Tuku with 70 seconds to find 4 kills, and he is outside the building. A lot of teams in this moment would go for an unofficial timeout, but it feels like he's got to go for it, Parker. The game is just too desperate.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to workshop at this current point in time? They called their timeout earlier in the first half. It immediately resulted in a flawless round win for their opponents. So I don't know. I mean, Tuku realizes what he's working against. There's a Frost on the board, there's an Ella on the board, and there's a Legion on the board. Those are 3 trap operators. So you have to deal with the Gishmat mines, the Goo mines, and the bear traps. And then to make matters worse, you've got an Echo with Yokais to give information away along with a bulletproof camera. They seem to have assessed his position and they're just going to throw bodies at him. Flastry gets the very final kill. Machina had 2 kills. Rare had 2 kills. A full house was available, but it is not to be had. Black Dragons don't really look like they're sweating too much as they move to match point.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's funny you were talking about kind of the big 3 in Brazil. It feels like we've got a new big 3 in Brazil these days. The modern big 3 being FaZe, Furia, and W7M, who have consistently been at the top of big international tournaments. The fact that Black Dragons have started to disrupt that big 3 has really been, I think, the single story of the stage as far as South America is concerned. Obviously, serving FaZe Clan their first loss of the season last week with a 7-2 dominating victory in their match of Clubhouse. So Black Dragons, this is not an easy opponent, and for 9Z, you're looking at this game. Obviously, it's not been the match that you've wanted, but this is one of the opponents that you don't expect to be. You know, you're a team like 9Z, you're still a newer roster, you're the underdogs coming in, the only non-Brazilian team in this league. Makes sense that they might go down to a team like BD who've been playing so fantastically so far through the stage, but I'm hopeful that they can come away from this game, learn a little bit. It's not over yet, you know. 4 rounds is ultimately not that many to claw the comeback, but I just feel like the way that they've been playing these games, the way these rounds have been going, it is going to be a huge mountain to climb. Close did it in our last game, not fully, but they brought it into round 15 overtime. 9Z have a similarly difficult task ahead of them today.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's always nice to make those references, but not a perfect comparison, which you acknowledge, just based on the teams they're playing against. You know, NIP is a middle-of-the-pack team that has consistency issues historically, but also so far through the stage, whereas Black Dragons have looked quite good in, well, most of their matchups. So, I mean, yeah, a little bit harder to come back from. Anything can happen. That's the beautiful thing. I mean, it was only a year and a half ago that we were in Sao Paulo watching one of the most unlikely comebacks we've ever seen on the main stage of SI. A comeback always starts with 1 round, and that's exactly what 9Z will do here. They lose Zhao, but they eliminate Rare and Hornet. Now it's Machina, outdueled by the shield of Tuku on the fuse. Nitro getting the diffuser down, and it's all up to Muzi. This round is over before it even got underway. A bit of remodeling as he's stuck right now inside of the closet, eliminating Will, who goes for the run down below. Now an upside down rappel. Black Dragons know exactly what that's like to do to their opponents, and this is going to be a heck of a shot for Muzi, who's waiting for the shadow to give him information. A very challenging shot to hit, and just one that, if you hit it, by God, does not happen. Naza with the final kill, and 9Z win the round.
We've not been able to talk about him too much because Nitro has been quite quiet in this game for 9Z, but he got an early pick onto Rare inside a trophy that really started that round off strong. Then he's able to use those Sens walls to cover his plant as he gets it done inside of Kitchen. Been excited to see from Nitro, who's a player that I've been really hoping to see a bit more from. He spent the last kind of 3 years in the Hispanic leagues for Maycam, Malvinas, and then last year was on Vasco as well, peaking top 2 in that regional league. So he's had some success, and he's also the only Argentinian player in the league rocking over a 1.0 KDR. So he's been finding success historically for the team, even if it hasn't been so much in this game. But I like that push in particular. Sometimes it's those pocket strats that need to come out to really jumpstart a comeback. Similar to what we saw from Los in the last game, we might be getting a bit of taste of that once again.
I don't want to write the obituary for any team just yet, because obviously there's plenty of rounds to play, and you just have to take it round by round by round. The one sign of an experienced team and the hallmark of a team that really does trust each other and is comfortable on their roles is the ability to adapt, but not just adapt in the round, but adapt to the changes of the game. If you notice that Black Dragons are playing very, very passively and are trying to set a tempo by layering their defenses, forcing you to commit more drones than usual, then you can bring operators to tackle that. And it's not just in-round adaptations, it's acknowledging that Black Dragons are doing a certain thing. Let's figure out a way to counter this. Let's make a strategy up on the spot if absolutely need be. Now, I say this, there are very few teams that we have witnessed that are able to fully adapt to their opponents in the cut and thrust of a map. You see it in best of threes where they might adapt to a team in the next map. But again, you could argue, is that a proper adaptation if the entire map is changing? The operators that are good on it are changing, site selection is going to change, etc. 9Z are a team that I think might be a bit too new to be able to make those changes on the fly as successful as they need them to be. Same with Black Dragons, though, frankly. They're experienced players, but again, they're still gelling. They're gelling very well, but they're still gelling. Question will be, over time, are we going to see progress on both of these teams in terms of adapting? We've seen Black Dragons adapt very well so far through the SA League, which is great to see. Now it's incumbent upon 9Z to do the same.
Flashry going to bring out the Clash for the first time in his career, at least since the Clash rework. Going to be bringing it out for a similar hold to what 9Z did on this bomb site, where they kind of lined up the Clash plus the Mira. There's no Mira this time, and Flash is playing a little bit more aggressive inside a piano rather than back on kind of the blue stairs. So there are definitely some sizable differences in those two holds, but the idea of using this Clash on the top floor is still relatively similar. They're providing a lot of problems for 9Z to solve. You know, they are holding a lot of this map. They need to find an answer, and that's a good start to it. Na's a beauty of a headshot onto Hornet, and then the air jab going off as well. Lots of chaos in this round of the top clear, but it's all working out for BD right up until Nitro goes down to Machina. You trade out to a 4v4, you force some of these roamers off of the piano extension out from Master. You don't feel too bad if you're 9Z.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that, with the exception of Machina dying, that you've lost two of the lower frags on these teams. Back to a 3v3. Black Dragon still with the Clash up. In terms of gadgetry available to deal with the Clash, your primary focus is going to be on the Nomad side of NASA, but all those air jabs are gone. Clash very susceptible to getting knocked over from that position. You can abandon the shield as well. Great shot from Musi as NASA drops, and this might be all she wrote for 9Z. I mean, you've got two of your best players still alive with the best guns that they can muster in their hands, but you're running out of time. The defenders still have utility as well, and again, to complicate matters, there is a Clash on the board. Tuco and Zhao now needing to level up. Musi has that cross. This is a tight angle to play, still established inside of Library. Tuku's downstairs. Zhao is basically one slight gust of wind away from death. Musi's not been shaken off of this position inside a Library. There goes the remainder of Zhao, and Tuku falls too. Black Dragon survived a scare in the previous round, but everything goes according to plan. They take it, and Black Dragons will get all 3 points for their troubles.